Perth Land Division Committee. I'd like to make note that what will be shown on the screen for those viewing at home is our remote meeting platform, whereby whoever is speaking will be shown predominantly, with smaller images of the members and staff attending along the edge of the screen. The agenda for this meeting here has been posted online at perthcounty.ca. If you want to follow along, please feel free to access it now. Remind all committee members, staff, and others participating in the meeting to please mute your microphones when not in use to reduce feedback. As this meeting is being held remotely, the Secretary Treasurer will call for each of the members' names, and each member will respond if they are in favor or opposed to the motion, and the chair will announce the result of the vote. Before we proceed, we will confirm attendance of the committee members by roll call.
Councillor McKenzie.
Here.
Councillor Trentowski.
Present.
Councillor Wilhelm.
Present.
Councillor McDermott.
Present.
And Chair Duncan.
Here.
Thank you.
Any disclosures of pecuniary interest, please declare now or any time throughout the meeting. Okay, I don't see any. I have a motion that the November 25th, 2024 agenda be approved by Councillor Trentowski and second by Councillor Wilhelm.
Councillor McKenzie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Trentowski.
Yes.
Councillor Wilhelm.
Yes.
Councillor McDermott.
Yes.
And Chair Duncan.
Yes. It's carried. We have minutes from the previous meeting, so I have a motion that the Land Division Committee approve the minutes from the October 28th, 2024 Land Division Committee meeting. Can I get a motion to put those on the floor, please? Councillor Wilhelm, seconded by Councillor McKenzie. Questions, comments to the minutes? Okay, I don't see any, Michelle.
Councillor McDermott.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Trentowski.
Yes.
Councillor McKenzie.
Yes.
Councillor Wilhelm.
Yes.
And Chair Duncan.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, that motion was carried as well. Moving along, we got hearing for application for consent, 5.1, application for consent to sever number B3624 and B3724. Francis and Haley's will present those.
Thank you. Let me just share my screen. Morning, committee members. The application before you is proposing to sever lands municipally known as 147, 151, and 157 Huron Road. The application was brought before the committee on October 28th for committee's decision. Staff received public comments from surrounding property owners of 157 Huron Road, which were inadvertently omitted from the planning staff report presented to the Township Council. The application's report was brought back to the Township of Perth South Council with comments attached for review. Perth South Council continued to support the application after reviewing the comments received. It is brought to the Land Divisions Committee attention that 2 of the 3 neighboring property owners stated their comments were satisfied as part of the staff's presentation to the committee on October 28th. The previous staff report and recommendations remain unchanged. The application proposes to sever the rear portions of 147 and 151 Huron Road and add them to the residential property located at 157 Huron Road. The lot addition will increase the total lot area of 157 Huron Road to 1.16 hectares. The portion of land to be severed are vacant, whereas the retained and enlarged lands contain single detached dwellings. At this time, the applicants have expressed they have no plans for future development. As such, staff recommend that the Land Division Committee approve consent applications B36, B37-24 for lands municipally known as 157 Huron Road, subject to the provided conditions. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any questions or comments from the committee members? Okay, I think we do have one individual that would like to speak. I think Trevor's here, isn't he, Michelle?
I will bring him in now.
Okay.
Good morning, Trevor. You're in the meeting now.
Good morning, everyone. I would just like to start by offering my condolences to your loss of your colleague, Mayor Aitchison. Had many dealings with him over the years and always enjoyed it. And I know he's in all your thoughts right now, but just wanted to pass along my condolences for that. I know you see him in a room, he'd give you that look and you knew he was coming to talk to you. I'll never forget the look he would give you. He'll be sorely missed. Anyway, carrying on with that, we were before the committee at the last meeting, so if there's any additional questions or anything, I would be happy to try to answer them.
Okay, thanks, Trevor. Again, any questions or comments from the committee members? Yeah, I don't see any. Michelle, do we have anybody else looking to speak?
No.
Okay. All right, then. I guess if we have no questions or comments, I have a motion that the Land Division Committee receives the application for consent to sever B3624 and B3724 Francis Report, and that the Land Division Committee approves the application for consent to sever B3624 and B3724 submitted by Jason and Lisa Francis for lands described as Plan 398, Lot 25, Downey Ward, Township of Perth South, subject to the conditions in the report. Can I get a mover for that motion? Councillor Trentowski, seconded by Councillor Wilhelm.
Councillor McDermott, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Wilhelm?
Yes.
Councillor McKenzie?
Yes.
Councillor Trentowski?
Yes.
And Chair Duncan?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Moving along. Application for consent to sever B4024 and B4124. Hyde. Jeff.
Thank you. I will just share my screen here. So consent applications B40 2024 and B41 2024 were submitted by Ron and Brenda Hyde for the league's lands described as lots 21 and 22 of Plan 333 in the Southeast Hope Ward. The applicant submitted 2 consent applications to create 2 commercial lots and a sanitary servicing easement on the retained parcel in favor of the property at 2189 line 34. The applicant has expressed an intention to develop the lots with residential buildings, but have decided to proceed with the consent applications prior to the required official plan amendment and the zoning bylaw amendment applications that would allow for a residential development on the subject lands. Provincial planning statement 2024 and the official plan both state that land use patterns within settlement areas should be based on densities and a mix of land uses that efficiently use the land and resources and optimize existing and planning infrastructure and public service facilities. Subject property is located within a serviced urban area in the County of Perth official plan. It's considered to be a settlement area. Within that settlement area, the relevant policies of the official plan are contemplated. There are existing sanitary and storm services available to both the severed and retained lands. Planning staff have included a condition with both consent recommendations to require that water services are extended to the lands. With the recently adopted official plan 2024 by the County of Perth Council, the official plan is being reviewed by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and the subject lands are being designated as urban mixed use. The new official plan continues to support a compact, efficient development within the urban mixed use area on municipal services. The consent application proposes to sever 2 lots, each with a lot frontage of 15 meters and a lot area of 481 square meters. The retained lot would have a lot frontage of 21.5 meters, an area of 690 square meters, and it will also provide that easement to the adjacent lands to the north. Subject lands are currently zoned as commercial zone C1. That permits a variety of commercial and institutional uses, existing dwellings, dwelling units in the rear and upper floor of commercial buildings, and accessory uses, buildings and structures. Public notice was provided to neighboring property owners on October 9th, and in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. At the time of writing of the report, and up until today, only one response has been received. The respondent expressed concerns with the small size of the proposed lots and suggested that the subject land should be used for one residential lot only. And that correspondence has been included with today's report. The commercial lots are in close proximity to other commercial properties and services and are able to provide services to each parcel of land. The proposed easement will allow for a continued sanitary and storm connection for the adjacent property to the north of the subject lands. The lands have frontage on a public road, and site plan agreements will be required for any future commercial development if they decided to proceed with commercial land uses. Proposed lots will meet the minimum lot requirements of the commercial C1 zone, and they will also meet the minimum zoning requirements of a residential medium density R2 zone if an official plan amendment and a zone change application are submitted in the future. The serviced urban area commercial designation is intended to support the compact development, which utilizes existing servicing infrastructure, and the lot fabrics would represent lot sizes that are supportable by the County of Perth official plan policies. At the November 5th regular council meeting, the Township of Perth East Council recommended that the Land Division Committee approve the consent application subject to the conditions in the report, and planning staff are supportive of the severance applications subject to those recommended conditions of consent being approved. And I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Questions, comments from the committee members? Okay, I don't see any. Michelle, do we have anyone wishing to present on this one?
We do. I'll bring Laura Jameson in now.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Thank you, Chair and committee members, for giving me the platform to speak here today. My name is Laura Jameson. I am an intermediate planner with Zelenka Priama Limited. We are the agents for this file, working for Ron and Brenda Hyde. We just wanted to mention, thank you to Jeff for his thorough presentation and the staff report that he's prepared. We've reviewed those and don't have any comments. I just want to reiterate that we are intending to develop these lands for residential uses. We've had pre-consultation discussions with Perth County and Perth South staff, and they agreed with our approach to create the lots first and then submit our official plan and zoning bylaw amendments to change the designations as necessary. So yeah, with that, again, we are intending to make residential uses on these lands. They do, as Jeff mentioned, meet the minimum lot size requirements for both commercial for approval and for residential uses in the future. And with that, I'm here to answer any additional questions that the members of the committee may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the committee members? Councillor McDermott?
Yeah, like you're doing the two lots at once. Would it not have been cheaper to do them individually?
Through the chair, it would cost the same amount for the application, no matter whether we did one and then the other, or if we just did them both together. And with the long-term sort of residential development plan, it just made sense to go for both lots now.
Okay, anyone else? Michelle, do we have anyone else wishing to speak on this file?
No, we don't.
Thank you. All right, seeing as I don't see any more questions, I have a motion. The Land Division Committee receives the application for consent to sever B4024 and B4124 Hyde Report, and the Land Division Committee approves the applications for consent to sever B4024 and B4124 submitted by Zelenka Primano on behalf of Ron and Brenda Hyde for lands described as lots 21 and 22, Plan 331, Southeast Hope Ward, Township of Perth East, subject to the conditions in the report. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, seconded by Councillor Wilhelm.
Councillor McDermott, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Trentowski,
Yes.
Councillor Wilhelm,
Yes.
Councillor McKenzie,
Yes.
and Chair Duncan.
Yes.
Okay.
The motion's carried. Moving along, 5.3, application for consent to sever B4224. Andrea?
Thank you and good morning.
So I'm just going to share my screen here. Okay, so this is an application for surplus farm dwelling severance consent, which was submitted by MTE on behalf of the owner, Mano Peters, and it's for lands located at 5432 Road 119. The subject application was proposed to have a total lot area for the severed parcel of 3.45 acres with a frontage of 104.8 meters. And the retained lands would have a total area of 38.3 hectares or 94.6 acres. And both would have frontage onto Road 119. Currently, the severed lands contain an existing dwelling, a barn, silo, 2 sheds, a septic system, and a well. And then the retained lands, as you can see, are vacant. So I'll just share with you the original proposal. So here's the original proposal showing the applicant is also proposing, which would be take place after the consent were complete, but the applicant was proposing a proposed garage on the severed lands, and they're also proposing a secondary dwelling unit within that proposed garage. The application generally meets the requirements of the provincial policy statement as well as the official plan in terms of the retained lands being consolidated with a larger farming operation. It would be going to Sunshade Farms, which has another farm located at 2501 line 54 in Perth East. The application, those staff were not generally supportive of it in terms of the actual size of the severed parcel, in that it was 3.45 acres, and that's generally larger than what we tend to support. So I'll just show you, move down to so this is the staff recommendation was to remove a portion of the northern portion of the parcel, the severed parcel, which included a windrow of trees. And so when this went to Perth East Council decided that, or were of the opinion, I should say, that the windrow would likely not be farmed. It wouldn't be agricultural lands. And so either if the windrow went with the severed parcel, if it went with the retained parcel, it wouldn't end up being farmed anyway. And so they didn't see that would be a viable option. That said, they did recommend that they included a condition that recommended that the parcel be reduced in size by at least 6 meters from the southern lot line. And so as you can see, I'll just move back to so here's the original. So it's 104.8 meters of frontage. And so the applicant revised it based on the minimum of 6 meter reduction to 98.7. However, so the recommendation from Perth East was that it be reduced by at least 6 meters. And so planning staff reviewed that recommendation and considered it further. And in fact, recommended that are recommending now that it can be reduced even further to a total of 86.34 meters of frontage. And as you can see, that's where the existing barn and silo are. And basically, we're recommending that it follow the tree line along the southern portion of the driveway. And so that would put back into agricultural production all of these lands, which were previously being proposed. And so the overall reduction in area has gone from 3.45 acres to 2.77. And so we are recommending that the committee support the application or approve of the application as modified by staff. And otherwise, we would generally not be supportive of the application with what was originally proposed of the 3.45, because we feel that that exceeds what the PPS would consider as limited in area, and it also would take prime agricultural lands out of production. We also modified the sketch to remove this portion in the top corner because it appears as though those lands are also still being farmed. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that the committee may have.
All right. Thank you, Andrea. Questions or comments from the committee members first? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Michelle, I think we have a couple individuals registered to speak on this one, so I guess we'll go to them next.
Thank you. I'm going to bring in Doug Ryu. Good morning, Doug. Doug, you're in the meeting now.
Sorry.
There we go.
A little slow this morning. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
All right. I'm sitting here with the Martins, and our comments are, if we move that south limit as recommended by the planners, we find that it's going to be the proposed development of a secondary grandparent suite and proposed garage would squeeze everything too much into the shed. We show 3 wood sheds there. One is labeled as a smoker, where in fact it is an outdoor furnace, and that we feel that it would just squeeze us too much, and we want to stick with what the township council has approved. As for the upper left corner there, that was never cultivated field. It was one large garden for the homestead. It's since, as you can see it in a more recent aerial view, that garden has been reduced in size and is mostly just grass at this point. So we would like to stick with the approval severance per the township.
Okay. Is that, Michelle, is that everyone we had?
No, we have Menno Peters here as well. I'll bring him in. I'm not sure if he has anything to add, but we'll give him the option.
Okay.
Good morning, Menno. You're in the meeting now. Menno, do you have anything you'd like to add? He may not.
Okay. All right. Committee members, what do you want to do here? Councillor McDermott?
I would move the township recommendations.
Okay. Do I have somebody willing to second Councillor McDermott's motion? Councillor Trentowski, you're willing to second that motion, or you have a comment?
No, I'm willing to second the motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right, now. Oh. Councillor McKenzie, you have a comment with that?
Well, maybe not so much a comment as a question. If we can just verify again exactly what we're voting on here.
Yes, and I was going to ask Andrea to remind us about what exactly Percy's recommendation to Land Committee was.
To the question. So the applicant, or sorry, so Perth East Council recommended that the lands be, the severed lands be reduced by at least 6 meters to the south. And so I'll just share my screen. I'll show you. So MTE provided us with a revised sketch that was in accordance with that recommendation. And so this is it. So it has a frontage of 98.7 meters, and then the total area is the 13,155.8 square meters.
And just a quick question, Andy, do we have what would the overall lot size be in hectares or acres on that? Do we have that number?
Just gonna have to do that. I think it was. Just do that conversion quickly.
Okay, thank you.
So it ends up being 3.25 acres. The original proposal was 3.45 acres.
Okay. Thank you. Committee members, questions, comments? Okay, I don't see any more questions or comments from the committee members. We have a motion moved and seconded on the floor. Michelle, could you maybe help me out with the wording on that, because it's not the same as I have here now?
Yes, so you just flip to the proper screen. So the motion would be that the Land Division Committee receives the application for consent to sever B42-24 Martin Report, and that Land Division Committee approves the application for consent to sever B42-24 submitted by MTE OLS on behalf of Menno Peters for lands described as Lot 1, Concession 15, Ellis Ward, Township of Perth East. Subject, I need to think how that would go. Sorry. And then it would be subject to the conditions listed in the report with the Township of Perth East's recommendation.
Okay, is the committee clear on that motion and good with the way that is worded? Is there any objection to that or discussion? Councillor McDermott?
Yeah, so basically what we're voting on is what came to Perth East and Perth East recommendations, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Okay.
currently we have Councillor McDermott had moved that and Councillor Trentowski had seconded that motion. So
I think Councillor Trentowski has a comment.
Yeah, no, through the chair, I wanted to confirm that I'll maintain seconding the motion as read. I'm clear on what the motion is about.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Wilhelm, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor McKenzie,
No.
Councillor Trentowski,
Yes.
Counselor McDermott,
Yes.
and Chair Duncan.
Yes. That motion is carried. Okay. All right, we'll move along to 6.0 consent file status report. Michelle?
Thank you. Switch screens again here. Make sure I'm unmuted. Okay, so everybody has received a copy of my report in the agenda package. Since our last report and as of November 20th, we've had 2 new consent applications that are currently in process. 4 applications received prior to that that are also in process. 1 application has been approved through the delegated authority process, and 3 applications received final approval during this time. Currently, there are 12 applications that are on hold for various reasons, all of which are listed in my report. Does anybody have any questions?
Questions, comments to Michelle? Okay. I don't see any. So I think we have a motion that the Land Division Committee receives the consent file status report. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor McDermott.
Councillor Trentowski, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Wilhelm,
Yes.
Councillor McKenzie,
Yes.
Councillor McDermott,
Yes.
Chair Duncan.
Yes. That motion is carried. Thanks, everyone. Okay. We have no correspondence. We have no appeals. So we're moving along to other business. And the first thing I'd like to do in other business is I'd like to spend a minute here to recognize a former member of our committee, Councillor Aitchison, who was also the former warden who passed away recently. And I'd like to just have a quick moment of reflection to remember Jim. Okay, thanks everyone. If anyone else would like to say a few words about Jim, I'll definitely give any of the other members the opportunity currently. If not, we can move along to the next item. Councillor Trentowski.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'll keep my comments brief, but Jim was one of a kind and he'll be sorely missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Trentowski. Anyone else? Okay. We'll move along then. Land Division Committee meeting location. Michelle, I'll let you kind of introduce what we're going to discuss here.
Thank you. So each year, so since I've been here for 3 years, it was post-pandemic and meetings have been online. I think we've done a couple in person as we had some large crowds coming, but each year we have a discussion about what we would like to do for in this instance, it'll be 2025 meetings. If we'd like to remain doing them virtually or if we would like to have them in person. So I just wanted to have that conversation here and see how people felt about that.
Okay. Councillor McDermott.
I think this has worked really well. Our meetings are roughly about half an hour, and some people might have a fair distance to go for a half-hour meeting. And I think if there's not a lot of people going to be at our meetings, I think they did an excellent job on the way they've been handled, and I would support going forward the way we have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor McDermott. Councillor Wilhelm.
Yes, I always prefer in-person meetings, and if or when the council gets back to our courthouse, perhaps we could reduce staff time by holding it there. But it is a little difficult to justify the travel for a half-hour meeting, but I prefer in-person meetings.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Trentowski.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I'm leaning towards in-person meetings, but at the discretion of the chair. I think we can judge if it's going to be a light agenda or a heavy agenda. In cases of a heavy agenda where there's a lot of detail, where there's a lot of people that have made comments and are most likely to convey those comments and address the issue. It's easier for those people to have the option of doing that in person and having filled, and as vice chair and having been the acting chair for a previous meeting, I can appreciate it's easier to sometimes have these discussions in person rather than on Zoom. So to sum it up, I would like to still have the option of in-person meetings available, especially for the more complex matters that would come before this committee for discussion and consideration.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor McKenzie, do you have any comments?
Well, I would agree, I guess, certainly with Councillor Wilhelm and Councillor Trentowski. At least a mix of the meetings, kind of based on what Dean has said. I find when we've met, it was maybe a little bit of a controversial subject, but I find I can read the people involved a lot better in person than what I can on Zoom, and it has a bit of a bearing maybe on what your final decision would be. So I would at least at the discretion of the chair and the staff make that call. But if it's just a straightforward meeting, I don't have a problem with Zoom. But I'm like Councillor Wilhelm. I kind of prefer in person as well.
So if I can just add in, Chair Duncan, I think we've kind of left it up to the discretion of the planner in terms of if they feel that it's a fairly contentious application, then like I know for sure John said there was one in particular, I think in Moncton, that he was expecting a crowd for, in which case we said, okay, we'll move to an in-person meeting. And then there are others that perhaps it's just the applicant or their agent that wants to speak, similar to today, that works fairly well to do it, to hold these meetings virtually. So perhaps it's a matter of, the planners have a better idea of which applications are going to draw a larger crowd, or if there are several. I mean, if we have 4 or 5 applications coming as well, then that maybe would make more sense for it to be in person. So if we don't want to make a decision right now, we can continue to do a mix of the two. But if you want to make a decision to do them in person or virtually, it's really up to whatever you all would prefer.
Okay. I guess kind of where I'm leaning right now is we have committee appointments coming up at County Council here very shortly. So I don't expect the composition of land division is going to change, but it possibly could. And like Councillor Wilhelm has said, at some point we're going back to the courthouse. And I would feel if we're going to do in-person meetings, I would rather do them there than at paramedic headquarters or any place else for that matter. So I think I'd be inclined to hold off on this decision and just continue going the way we're going until we get back to the courthouse and see our new committee appointments done, if everyone else would agree with that.
So would you like, sorry, Chair Duncan.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I was just wondering if you'd like me to put it on an agenda maybe for February or like early next year we should be in the courthouse by then to reevaluate.
Is everyone okay with doing that? Okay. It looks like I have some consensus there. I think that's what we'll do. We'll have you bring it back in February, Michelle, and we can make our decision from there.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you want a motion to that respect, or you're
Um,
okay with just direction from the committee?
I think we're okay without a motion.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're okay.
Okay. Thank you. So we don't have any closed session. Our next meeting date is December 16th, 2024. And can I get a motion to adjourn at 10:10 a.m.? Walter or Councilor McKenzie? Councilor Wilhelm?
Councilor McDermott,
Yes.
Councilor Trentowski,
Yes.
Councilor Wilhelm,
Yes.
Councilor McKenzie,
Yes.
Chair Duncan.
Yes.
Great.
Great.
Thank you,
Thanks, everyone.
everybody.
Have a good day.
You too. Take care.